So it came into private hands after upon the negotiations with the Wampanoags in 1652, and from there, farmers took it up because that was so much of what they were seeking this land for, was to expand and grow. And it's an interesting area for farming. It's very stony and sandy in a lot of places, and then there's some wetlands that are kind of heavy sediment. There's cedar swamp and so forth. So it took a lot of doing, right, to convert it. But I would say that that's one of the reasons that it didn't necessarily get swept up into a whole lot of industry. The trees are shorter because it has this coastal effect, and does grow grass fairly well. So you get a lot of it was good grazing, relatively good grazing habitat. The salt marsh, in fact, was really valuable for farmers back in the day because they could, if they built the right structures in the salt marsh, they could drain it and have access to salt marsh hay and as well as bedding. So the cordgrass. So it became a resource, and so Allen's Pond has stayed in essentially the same hands. Much of the properties around Allen's Pond have been in the same families for over 100 years, 150, even some of them for like the Almy family, for example. I think their first acquisition was in 1710, and there's still Almys living on the land. They're no longer farming necessarily. In fact, we have some great artists in our community and such. But so there's a really strong attachment to the land, and I think families were reluctant to let it pass on. And so that actually was super helpful from a conservation standpoint. The natural resources that this offers, and the diversity all in close proximity, is pretty hard to get across the state. And so the fact that these families had such attachment to it and kept it undeveloped, left it, allowed the conservation movement to grow and become a thing, such that this land actually was I think it was one of the first conservation restrictions in the state, what we're standing on right now. And that was driven by, there's this wonderful guy, Ted Raymond, he was on the board of Mass Audubon, serious birder, was in finance, out of Boston area and such. He was so serious about birds that he would go to places like this and just tell people about the birds and what a wonderful thing it was. And so he talked to the landowner here, this matriarch of the family, Angelica Lloyd Russell. And so she was convinced. Apparently they had lots of heated conversations in jest, but she knew, it was such a precious parcel for property for her too. So she wasn't she wasn't hard to convince, but she made him go through his paces, he told me. So she was the first one to say, I'm going to protect this. And so she protected, now it's up to 250 acres are protected with Mass Audubon, and another, I think, 100 acres are protected with another conservation organization. And so a lot of acreage on this side is completely defended from development. And similarly, I think when that was revealed to be a tool to keep what you love, a family over on that side in the 80s said, they needed to make a plan, and they decided to protect 70 acres that they had. And they were one of the first agricultural preserve restrictions, which is kind of the same as, are you familiar with a conservation restriction?
Actually, yes, behind our house we have a conservation bit of land for bird sanctuary, right, Jen?
There's some land that's been protected.
Yeah.
I think my understanding is that it's a legal restriction that the area can only be, you can't build a development
Right,
on the
can't
land.
build on it.
Right. So a private person can own the land but they no longer own the rights to develop on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what was getting started here. And once that started to roll, then we acquired more parcels bit by bit by bit. And our last major acquisition was in 2007 when we actually, it was a little earlier than that. It was technically in 2005 when we acquired a kind of a keystone property between what we protect on this side, the east side, and what we protect on the west side. It joined it. So now we own 600-ish acres, and we protect another 300 acres, and then the pond is over 100 acres, so there's well over 1,000 acres protected here, which is pretty hard to imagine in, like, coastal Massachusetts.
I know.
It is surprising.
And so we're really grateful, and some of the habitats of note here are, well, we're looking at the coastal salt pond, which is just a productive system as an estuary for all kinds of aquatic organisms. And it is bounded by the salt marsh. There's over 200 acres of salt marsh here. We don't own or protect all of it, but it is protected as a salt marsh. That is super important for a number of different reasons. One is that it hosts low diversity of plants, but those plants produce a ton of biomass every year. So they're literally sucking up carbon and converting it into plant material, which then goes down into the roots, into the peat. So they're really great carbon storing systems. They also are home to a suite of species, like those 4 or 5 plant species that only live in salt marshes. Plus, there's 4 salt marsh obligate birds that only nest or have some important part of their life cycle in the salt marsh. And we have all 4 of them nesting here at Allen's Pond, which is apparently, we just did a big project this year of where we were misnetting them, basically trying to capture them and ban them, and catalog what our numbers are. And we had over 300 salt marsh sparrows. Salt marsh sparrows are a species of great concern. They are predicted to, if things don't change, they could be extinct in less than 50 years. I think even by like 2050, so that's like 30 years. So there's a lot we can do, and we've begun to do it. And some of that is basically, we know that salt marshes are on the front lines of sea level rise impacts, right? Yeah. They get themselves, they're going to be the ones feeling the increasing elevation. And that doesn't do well for nesting birds or the plants. So we're doing a lot of restoration where we find different signs of degradation. We're doing restoration there. And
How do you do that?
so one of the features of a salt marsh, a natural salt marsh, is these microtopographies. And in that, those species of plants kind of orient themselves. And there's one plant that is much more tolerant of being wet, and then most of the others are not too tolerant. Most of the other 3 or 4 are not very tolerant. What is happening is as sea level is rising, water is coming up onto the marsh like it's supposed to, but it's staying there. And it's killing off those more sensitive species. And then the more tolerant species, it takes a little while for it to colonize those. It ends up creating these, they look like ponds on the marsh. So instead of a beautiful sea of grasses, that is the quintessential salt marsh look, you have these very Swiss cheesy kind of effect.
Of grass growing.
Of grass and pond, and grass and pond. And when the tide goes out, those ponds are just mud flats. And so the organisms that rely on either water or grass are now really compromised. So they end up being a bit of a dead zone. and they also have a very negative impact on the substrate. So what I think is super important about a salt marsh is that and it's actually every soil, but what we see is only a tinier piece of the biotic material. A lot of it is in the peat. And so there's all kinds of organisms that are specialized for this low oxygen, high salt peat situation. And they're being affected by not having grass delivering oxygen, through the roots and everything. So it's creating these real dead zones that are then destabilizing the marsh. So now you have an area where the marsh is gone away. It's a pool, but it's not in a part of a stream. It's not getting fish in there. It's just sitting there, and that is ending up killing the material beneath, and it slumps, and now it becomes even lower. It basically, in order for the salt marsh to persist, it needs to grow with sea level rise. That's what it does.
So when it causes those craters, then that's even more and more that's deteriorating.
Exactly.
Right?
It's exacerbating the impact of sea level rise. So salt marshes are so important. I mean, they are really the nursery for not only what lives in a salt marsh and intersects with beaches and water and everything else. I think they're responsible for some, I don't know, like 80% of commercially valuable things that our species relies on.
Oh, no.
Because they are such a source of food. In their productivity, they're actually feeding a huge, complex food web. And without those salt marsh activity, we're going to lose a lot of that. It's going to have an impact up the stream, up the food chain. So fortunately, the state government, the federal government are very attuned to this, and we've been able to get some grants. So we had $150,000 grant a few years ago, and we just were re-upped a year ago with another $450,000 over several years. So we're going gangbusters trying to, and what we want to do is demonstrate, so that we might try a few things. There's different systems. One of the things we're doing is we're trying they're runnels. We didn't invent them, but we are taking note from places that have been really looking at this problem longer. So the runnels are like a little straw, a little siphon off of those pools, and they work great. And we've seen huge recovery just in a year. We have great before and after pictures. It's phenomenal. We also, other sites with a lot more resources are trying things like thin layer deposition. So normally a salt marsh keeps up with the gradual fluctuations of sea level rise by getting dumped with silt through storms. And the grasses hold on to that silt, and it just can allow very incremental increases. And then, so in some places, like one of the things that kills me, and this is where I'm really grateful that Mass Audubon has a strong advocacy department, is things like beach renourishment projects, right? They take the sand from someplace, or maybe they're moving the sand off of roads or whatever. A lot of that sand gets dumped out in the ocean, far out in the ocean. And I feel like we got to think smarter about being really nature-based. We got to be more nature-based. Nature has a system of replenishing salt marshes. How can we mimic nature? How can we really do that as well? So that's some of what we're looking into, and then the bird research is in part to better understand what we have here as a resource, and also to understand how our measures are having an effect.
Besides sparrow, what are the other three birds?
Okay, yes. One is called a seaside sparrow, and that is a bird that nests we're at the northern edge of that species. which is important. It goes all the way down into Mexico, I think. But what's important being at the northern edge is that with climate change and
We're
temperatures,
gonna lose it.
well, no, we're going to
Yeah.
be the important part because these are the birds
Near
that
the
can
bellwether.
where they can take a little colder temps, a little shorter season,
Oh.
so they can keep moving up, right? They're ready to keep moving up. Whereas it's the ones that are the populations that are really in the core that are probably going to be hardest hit, or even on the south, because temperatures, everything's going to go up. So all the
True.
insect relationships are all going to go north. We're at the northern edge. Our birds are adapted for that, and they'll be able to keep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's another species.
So all the more reason you have to be ready for them.
Yes, exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
Clapper rail is another species.
Clapperville.
Have you heard of a clapper rail?
No.
They're kind of in the chicken family, if you can believe that, and they eat a lot of shellfish, and in the sense of, well, they eat anything, but they are a really cool species. They're kind of hard to find. They're like rails. I feel like the Holy Grail, you could just as well say the Holy Rail. You know, like people talk about how hard it is to go rail hunting.
Ah.
They're very secretive and sneaky, and so yeah. So we are we've got them here, which is great, and then the last species is willet, which where do you live on the coast?
Mhm.
Marshfield.
Yeah.
So
not
okay,
Intrusive Coast.
so you probably have heard willets every summer. They're the ones that kind of harass us incessantly. They go, we really.
I don't know.
If you're a
Ours is sandpiper that we in Duxbury Beach. They
the
they-
piping plover.
That's it. The piping.
Yes,
plovers.
yes, we have them nesting
Sandpipers.
here.
Mhm.
They're related.
And yeah, so they block off a lot of the beach.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
for those babies. So
Yes, so we actually have 24 pairs nesting here, which isn't the
Awesome.
number that Duxbury has, but it's really dense,
Yeah.
given how, Duxbury is quite long. So,
now I thought you might say swan as well, because again we have marshes and there are swans in it.
yes, we do have swans that come in. They are not a species of concern. In fact, they're technically invasive, believe
Oh.
it or not. They're European, and they don't have a necessarily a super positive impact.
Oh, okay.
They can change the habitat for ducks because they have their long necks and they have a way of foraging that kind of harms the subliteral, the underneath
The
vegetation.
undergrowth and all.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
But anyway, we have
pretty.
them. They're pretty. They're
They
pretty.
compete with ducks for food, right?
What-
Do they compete?
Yeah, and they alter the habitat for ducks. So, so they're not really a species of concern at all. If anything, we just don't want them to get too abundant. But they're fine. They're totally fine. But the thing about the salt marsh sparrow, that's the one that is likely to be extinct. That's a super interesting species that I love to talk about. If you want to hear it.
Sure.
Yes.
but you might have other questions. Hello. I'm good. How are you? Barry was our caretaker for many years, and look at him, so big.
When does the thing happen?
Well, they're trying to figure out what the timing is.
Tide and everything?
Yeah. So salt marsh sparrows are super interesting in that they nest on the marsh. And we know that the marsh gets, in the tidal cycle, you're familiar with how, like, there's the moon tides.
Yep.
And in a month, there's usually one tide that goes higher, and then 2 weeks later, it also goes high, but a little less high, and then high again 2 weeks later. So there's this amplitude effect, right? And usually when the birds come back, the first thing they do is the females will make a nest, mate with a male, and produce the eggs. And those generally, unless they're super lucky, those are likely to fail. But they're ready to do it right away, and now their timing is going to be perfect. So they have adapted a super short nest cycle. So whereas a lot of species of birds, like your robins and such, they're like a 2-week eggs, chicks. These guys are like 10 days and 12 days.
Wow.
Huh.
So that they have eggs for 10 days. They incubate. These eggs can even float a little bit. So that tide that's likely to come a little bit, it's going to come high, maybe not as high as 2 weeks later. They can actually survive it.
Ah,
And then after the chicks hatch, as long as they're like 5 days old, they can climb up on the grass and then climb back down. And the females, so this is like a single mom situation. The females do everything soup to nuts. In fact, all the males, their job is to be ready for that. They compete to be ready for whenever that female has lost a nest. There's a guy right there ready to inseminate her and start the cycle over. Anyway, so one of their techniques often is to build almost a basket top on the nest so that the eggs, when they float up, they don't wash away. They actually fall back down in place. And so I just love this little hardworking mama who just knows how to do it. And we had over 200 nests here this season.
how
Wow.
nice.
So
Wow.
we just were pumping out.
Yeah, right.
So like the biologists who know the situation at a much grander scale, they're just like astounded that, like, we've known that that this has been a good place for them, but it's been like almost 30 or 40 years since they've been studied. And so the fact that we still have them is really fabulous.
cool.
And that's because, the landscape is fairly unchanged. Tam, great to see you. Yeah, so there's that. And what else? So another piece about Allen's Pond is that we are a designated important bird area. We're part of the Westport important area, the Westport River important bird area. I think Duxbury is an important bird area too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think so. And that just is a designation that kind of just gives bragging rights more than anything. It doesn't like come with money or, but it's something that when you're writing a grant, you can say, hey, we're an important bird area.
Yeah.
But the important bird area was designated for things like the salt marsh sparrow, like the piping plover. So we have beach nesting birds, we have salt marsh nesting birds, we have wintering birds in the form of, we get really neat raptors. We also have black ducks. Believe it or not, black ducks are in decline nationwide. And not because of their wintering habitat, because of their breeding habitat. But in any case, we're a good place for them to come for the winter.
What kind of raptor?
Raptors, I meant to elaborate. So one of the more common ones we have are osprey. We have over 15 osprey nesting. You can, if you walk around, you can even see some platforms. Like there's one in front of that little cottage. There's a little lollipop structure. So we have, I think, like 13 platforms and then, a couple other structures that they nest on here. And then, so osprey, we have mostly in the winter where we can get long-eared owl and short-eared owl. And we even get snowy owl. If there's a big, we're not like Duxbury where that's where they show up.
Yeah.
But we get some of that. And then we also have peregrines and we have turkey vultures nesting and such like that. So there's...
That's what those might have been, Danny, that you thought were
Hawks.
hawks.
Turkey vultures.
Yes.
Yeah,
Could be.
that could be. So that another important bird for our important bird area is actually the tree swallows and other aerial insectivores. So birds that catch their food on the wing out of the sky, they're part of, a key part of the food chain, cycling nutrients. And that's this area of birds, a suite of birds that is also in decline, in part because insects are in decline. So if they're not able to get enough insects,
We're killing them.
we're killing them, right? So this area produces a lot of insects, and on some days we'll have like 1,000 or 10, even up to 10,000 we've had of these tree swallows and other swallows kind of congregating and filling in and getting ready for night. And they do this really cool like cyclone look
No
thing.
kidding.
It's so cool. So that's another breeding bird in our area that benefits. Another one are grassland birds. Because of the agricultural history, we have a lot of ag fields, and we manage about 60 acres of ours for grassland nesting birds. So this is another species of bird or suite of birds that nest on the ground. So they're vulnerable, right? But their strategy is good. Like they're like a needle in a haystack. They're hard to find, right?
Okay.
So they have a good strategy. It's just that if the main threat for them is if they are if the mowing regime happens. So modern mowing practices has made these birds in great threat. Very much threatened. So and that's the ideally we wouldn't mow from like the third week in May until like the third week of July. And most people grow cold season grasses, which are European varieties, which is exactly when you want to mow them, is right in that window. And that's why we've lost so much of that. Oh, look at Jason. Jason! Peregrine, I think. So the grassland birds, we manage 55 acres and then some in what's called warm season grassland. And that's a type of plant that's more native based, and they come into their highest nutritional value for forage in August. And so that's the best scenario, is if you don't have to mow until August to get your best crop, choose that one.
Okay.
So that's another important bird area. Let's see, what else do we have? Our wading birds. As you drove in, did you see all those white birds on the marsh, the egrets?
Yes, I think I did.
So we're also important for our post breeding. So they breed elsewhere, but they come here to get ready for migration. They fatten up. And so we're important for post-migrating wading birds. So we got the shorebirds, the salt marsh birds, the grassland birds, the wading birds, the raptors, the aerial insectivores, and I feel like I'm forgetting one, but I can't. But we got a lot.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah, and that's just the birds, like we have diamondback terrapins.
Come through with the net.
Okay.
To get the, and then once
But
you
you're-
get the ducks in, then you can move back.
But you're loading the ducks in the water, right? Not on the sand. Okay.
Okay, where would
What's
you?
that?
We're doing it reversed.
Yes, because of the wind. The wind is more powerful than the tide right now.
No, the tide is kind of windy.
Any eagles?
We do. They don't breed here, but they certainly feed here in the winter. So after they breed out in Quabbin or wherever, we're going to have them wintering here. So we'll find them here, like feeding on dead things and yeah. But also hunting the ducks.
wear it.
Oh gosh, that's true. It's like the first picture of the season.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, we do have more.
That's okay.
More ducks coming.
We have more? Oh my goodness.
Shot didn't come out. This is your chance.
That's true.
That's great. Terrific.
Love
Everyone is a fundraiser, right?
It is.
Yes, I would. You can leave on the kayak for now until we figure it out.
Oh, I need to get out there.
Oh, are you taking the blue one? Yeah. I got you.
I actually have the same kayak at home.
Let's make a game plan of who's going to be at the end.
Yep.
Making such a special about catching a duck and making sure that's all
Gina and Bree
I'm Dan Gallagher.
down there.
okay.
On Bree.
We're a
Are you
commission
here?
planning, but we're centered around ducks, and so it was a natural kind of thing, yeah.
Well, quack, quack to that.
I'm just going to share the game plan with you.
I would love it.
Okay, so Gina, do you want to catch winning duck?
Absolutely.
How
And
can
then
I?
you'll
That's really
be
the
there.
Unless
Get a picture.
Dan and Lou want to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
And then picture of winning duck, but not of their butts.
Not of their butts, which
Yeah.
is I usually get butt pictures because people always stand behind. So when you pull the winning duck out of the water, you can hold it up and face me,
Okay,
so I don't get your butt.
okay, where's the end, where's the, down there?
Down there. Yeah. I would like to get him a little closer. You can just let me grab that. And do you have a dad?
Yeah, but that's okay. I don't have to wait there. There's,
Okay, I'm gonna stay on shore, but I'm gonna hop in the kayak and join you if it looks like I can. Sound good? It's just like, as that happens, we'll communicate. You're like, Allie, I need help.
absolutely.
But I'm,
Do you need to push off? Oh, no, you got it. Okay.
One of these kayaks is for you.
Oh, excellent. Yeah? The little one okay? Yeah. That works? Absolutely. I can set down. Crowd control.
Okay, and then I need, do you want to stand Aaron?
Perfect.
AJ? I don't know.
Aaron's my brother's name, but I
Austin, I was so close. Okay. Do you want to be shoreline guard? If they wind up like stuck on the shore, we're not. Those ducks, those are the losers. But if any start going past, like we pick up the duck and it starts going past, we need to catch that or anyone like is interfering. Because you're not going to go in, right? You're just going to stay on the shoreline. Yeah, exactly.
At this point, you're not going in.
But
Yeah, this is.
Gina can go in, Allie can go in.
You like a noisemaker?
All right.
That's great, I love this.
Noisemakers.
Oh, a noise.
It just adds to the fun. I mean, here's you. Yeah.
What's that? There you go. You take a picture. Good. Video.
Oh, okay.
It's one duck wide.
we verified that. Really? I like the little insurance policy.
You're not giving her a chance. All these textures are just gonna get. You're not gonna get a chance to separate. You're not gonna get a chance to separate.
What did you say? I think you need to go back.
Yeah, that's too short of a race.
Chance to separate.
I see what you're saying.
Let's like it out.
cool.
Is someone gonna do a countdown? What time?
We do a countdown here.
I think that's
We initiate it.
That would have showed
No, true.
I think we.
Let me know when you're ready, and then we're gonna do a countdown.
How many ducks are there?
I will go
We
be
have
at the end.
3,007. Woo! I know.
They would love that. Absolutely.
All corresponds to a fundraiser or a sponsor. Yeah, I mean, everyone's assigned a number. I know, that's funny.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
But we
I
did
mean,
find
we get all these ducks. This year I told them,
so usually you don't get
I
to
was
see
just
duck
gonna
one.
ask because they just had a really good last minute push. Nicole, what was the total?
Three. What did I just say? 3,007.
3,007.
Okay.
You think they're going to the end?
All right, how do we feel about a countdown? Are we ready?
We're beginning to be ready.
Ready? We're gonna do a quick flip under.
Wait. Let's just make sure, Valerie, do you have any needs that we should take into consideration?
Nope, I'm all set. I've been recording. Yep.
And then are you just doing stills then?
I'm going to be doing video,
Okay.
and I'll be able to grab some photos from that and all the good stuff. But I'm going to keep
get
out
out
of the way
of
for
the-
the most part. And if I see anyone's kind of going this way,
And we do a big flip
I got you.
Gina, technique for getting them all out.
So last year we did a big flip under
Roll it under.
Okay.
and do a big roll.
But it's not going to be neat and clean, and it'll be what it is.
We're going.
There you go.
Go Ducks! Go Ducks!
Here we go.
Somebody's barrel fell off. Getting a little help. I think the problem is ebb tide.
I'm so glad. It's a spotted salmon. Actually, let me just make sure that it's not.
Don't worry about this. Go, duckies, go!
The wind, you mean?
Aww.
It's empty.
Gonna lose everybody.
No, Dan has the
Here we go. Heading into the channel.
Cindy, you might want to be a part of an extension of the boom.
Extend it.
To a certain point, and there's David. Fly
Come
through.
in and
Where did you get the hat from, Norm?
Oh my God, this is so good.
I always turn it down. Usually it's too hot to put on.
Yeah.
we don't want to push Eddie back into the race, but we don't want them to go back
Okay,
further,
I
okay?
got you. All right, let me get out of the way here.
It's okay if they're not going to be the
If
winner.
they
anyway.
escape, just make them behind the losers.
That's true.
These
yeah.
buggers are dead.
Sally, Dan, I wanted you to meet Sally that I was, Johnston, I was
Hi,
telling you
Sally.
about.
Nice to meet you.
And his wife Lou.
Nice to meet you. Slacker quacker.
Sally's husband Malcolm is one of the ideators of
No, it was
Dr.
Norm Buck. My husband and Norm were in competition to see who could sell the most ducks. They were wild.
That's
Crazy sales.
21 years ago.
No, it was more like
You never know.
we went for 16 years.
Oh, it's
Time is over. Yeah. This is the
there
20th
something on the back?
event because we
Certainly
took one
does.
off, but it was 20. And then
We've lost.
and then Sally got voluntold to be the committee chair for several years.
First one threw that open.
You did a lot. You did a lot.
Personal selling at every street fair, and sitting at a table at the Falls General Store, trying to persuade people to buy a duck.
Buy a duck.
And a Bayside.
I know, I was telling them they should go eat there today if they needed a bite before.
This is actually way better. When I first saw this, I said, okay, the ducks in the front are going to win and the ducks in the back are going to lose. But there's a whole dynamic here I wasn't aware of.
Yeah, but it's different every year depending on the wind or the tide. They used to have the V in the middle. Now it's all silted in. They used to have the V in the middle, and they would come in roaring on the tide, and people in a outboard motorboat anchored out.
There's the leader right there, so far.
They had to pluck out of the water. They keep them in sequence.
Oh.
Because they came in.
Oh, yeah.
And the people at the V had to try to get them.
Let's focus on these.
Thank you.
The wind is shifted. They're not going the right way.
No. We used to have the grand prize and up to 40 others.
Yeah, remember I was telling you she went and did, her and Donna went, she would do all the sponsor prizes and Donna did this whole huge silent auction that we had. Oh, I think that was mine.
Then when that gets a little closer, I'll shoot down that way.
A lot of them didn't make this side of the boom.
You're not supposed to throw them back in.
Yes, we are.
No, she said not to.
Oh, I thought we were. Okay. We're trying to get all the ones on the queue.
Right? You said not to.
Okay.
Yeah, if they've lost, they've lost.
Oh, I was going to say 7,000.
You only need one to come through the gap.
I was telling him that
Any of these in the middle, I think.
Yeah.
the statewide email at like midnight or
A lot of them are out of the running on the shore.
Other way. We'd be like trying to keep up with them. And people would be, the booms would be practically like buried in water. And it would be very difficult to set it up. So, you know, we're still fine tuning, but it'll work. It's just fun. It is so fun. And it gives us a chance to, like, having the table at the festival gave us a chance to tell people about us and have fun activities and images of the work we do.
Yeah. There's a dead crab for you to fall over.
Absolutely. Over here, left.
And do you have, like when people signed up,
Yeah.
did you go, okay, next numbers, and you line them up with the numbers?
We are doing it much more on the computer now. We just know how many we bought.
Yeah.
And we can just, like, we run a report that has all of that's why we do it that way. And then it randomly assigns a number. And so it correlates to the ducks here. So that way we're not matching it up, you know. Yeah, we can't manually. That's 3,000 ducks.
Yeah, so as they come in, they get signed up.
A computer number. So there's a number on the ducks that gets randomly assigned to a number. And it makes it more fair because it doesn't matter if you bought it 6 months ago or you bought it today. It's randomly assigned a number.
Absolutely.
But it's fit because I'm away. Hi, beautiful. Hi.
That does look like a really
Gorgeous. Hi, baby.
Oh, no, that's Annabelle, she's 16.
Man, I heard how many got lost. So many.
Grabbed the duck on their way out.
Pretty good about it.
Dog doesn't grab a duck.
Ducks already finished with the race.
Okay.
In the middle.
Yeah, no retrievers around, right?
No, right. Those guys were like ducks.
I know.
No, don't do it. That was great. I like that.
I don't remember that many.
Control your children.
First of all, we're going the wrong way.
Dogs.
And then that current there, the S-curve current, it was just hard to like put one of these across. Like sometimes we put the boom straight across it, which is fine, but it takes a lot of pressure.
Move forward.
Yes.
I know. Low on them.
How many ducks did you buy?
I think these middle ducks might be the ones. And
They're probably all out there.
Yeah, right. My four are out there for sure. Oh no, I never ever win anything, which is just fine. It's all part of the process.
these ones are the ones getting title and health.
And actually,
There's
I saw
no
my
flow
number.
either way. And they're
I
too much
handed,
on the surface
and I
anyway to
actually
be
pulled out
affected
my
by
own
the
number.
title.
That's great.
So I sort of didn't cheat.
So are you the one that'll be
And you were 6.
I know, but you don't want to.
theory of like
I won. What did I win?
that's like, you know, based on, you know, lean and the lack of, you know, or whatever it is.
We were,
You know.
we may have erred on the side
There
of
was,
overly cautious.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
Given the
it's definitely the tide is
Today during, you know,
it's definitely ebb.
right at the
I would
moment
say
we
slack, whatever you call it.
Halfway mark.
And
yeah.
I know, I feel like
These ducks did agilities 3 times a week, but today when they took to the water, they lost all their
speed did
their
not work in their
speed.
Has this
favor.
happened before?
This is more
I don't think any of them are going to make it.
strategy.
So it's kind of a good thing we don't have 40 prizes.
Yeah.
40?
This is a marathon, not a
We used to
sprint.
have 40. Well, we'd get a donation.
We're trying to write the commentary for the winner.
It was more important to pace yourself than to try to beat the competition.
I mean, this one, is it even moving?
He's upside down.
They're stuck between slack tide.
Yeah,
Yep.
and the wind. Yeah.
They're at a rest stop right now. They're refueling.
I think they're going to start going in the other direction.
they're
in a minute.
refueling.
Big trouble.
I think somebody will come. What's that?
Yeah.
I mean, they literally are just
We need a fish or something underneath.
If we waited another
There's
hour.
a Peloton right now.
Yeah, we're gonna get, somebody's gonna come through.
got 2 commercials.
I feel like this one right here is gonna slowly just inch up, and it's gonna become like it's like this.
Or it's just going to go that way.
All we need is the gust.
That's true.
All we need is one, right?
I hate to say it, but
You don't need. Oh, we
they're
need
facing in the
Well,
other
there's 2,
direction
and
heading
then the
that
last
way.
one to come through.
What's the second prize?
Family membership for Mass Automont.
Yeah, that's nice.
Forever?
It's for 1 year. So.
Okay.
It's going.
Yeah, I think everyone got that.
We need Gwen to come start doing laps. Make
I know she's so sad she's not here.
Yeah, swimming around.
Her and Evelyn. But,
That year, they just put
They're going backwards.
I know.
Yeah, I want to.
Their little swimsuits.
Maybe we need to go in there with a paddle.
We've never had it happen where, I wonder if we moved the
And them
boom.
swimming.
What if we
Swimming would have been.
I know, because that's what I'm thinking, yeah.
What if we set up the boom, we like set up the 2 poles, just brace the boom.
Oh, you're right.
What about that one out in the middle?
Move these.
He's not moving at all.
And then
Cindy's
move the
giving them a
boom back
nudge.
to get more, so that these were actually in the middle. Yeah, Cindy, I'm.
What? I thought boom, hitting the boom might be a good idea.
It would certainly move the ducks, but I don't know if it has the same.
It's not moving that much.
Might have the wrong optics.
Could you ask someone to get me some crates? I'm going to bring crates out to them.
You know what? We need to actually. What you need is the net. Just grab the net.
Took the race the other direction.
Crates might be better. I don't know which is better.
The big group is
I'd
now
do it in
going
the
up.
net and like gather them up in the net, because the net floats beautifully.
Direction. They're leaving.
Want to set up down there?
You want to quickly change? Make a mini boom?
I think that we should just set up
another pole at the other end. If that's where they're going.
Set up a pole. I think if we could move the room out without a door.
Yeah, we're definitely going the other direction.
I think what it would do is it would allow them to spread out.
She just picked up a duck. I don't think that's what it is. She shouldn't pick them up yet, Gina.
Yeah, no, she shouldn't be picking up the racing
She picked
ducks.
up one duck. And it was inside the boom.
Restart
the race. Cindy, put that duck back in the water.
She can't hear, I think. It's
No.
too, low audio. Well, we could do what we used to do. So this is actually, we deviated from the plan. And
They're all going around the corner. I know.
You can't make it up. You can't make it up.
You really can't. Oh my God. It's so sorry. Each year it's different. What has done?
Claire, what is happening right
Look at the
Well, it's screwed up.
Yeah.
They're going in reverse.
One year we couldn't do it here because that was all filled in, and we had to go over near the back eddy and do it.
Oh, is that? Wow, I was wondering.
Oh, you had to.
Years ago.
Oh,
Because why? Because the creek closed up, and so there wasn't any tide at all.
Periodically it does.
There's a duck out there.
Yeah, dredged out. Yeah.
Somebody's got to get. Yeah, we got one on
Maybe we
the.
should
I think we
start
should,
it
in
again.
like
I
the
think so, too.
situation, there's no way he's going to come this way. I think we need to
I think we have
reassess.
time to restart
Yeah.
with no hands and no boats. No traction.
I think we take
Yeah, there's been a number.
out to where Allie's standing.
And do it, redo it. Aren't you glad you're here?
There's no way.
There are a bunch of ducks coming this way. He likes ducks.
Just looking forward to it. Where's Allie? All right. Where's now?
Oh, they're all escaping. Yep, go. Just let them go until the battery runs out.
What happened to the snake? It got frightened out by the noisemaker. There's one faster than the other one that never happened.
Yeah, there it is, right there. It's in the water.
Oh yeah.
You see the snake coming in?
Yeah.
Snakes eat ducks? You might be scared otherwise.
I know, I'm sure he's rather terrified.
We're gonna have a winner!
How's
It's
that
gonna
going?
work. I can't believe it!
You guys are doing the side stroke.
Allie, there's a little snake in the water here.
Sally and Claire normally do that.
I am. Okay.
Yes.
Can we get the big black neck out?
No, I'll hold it up.
Very exciting. Here it comes. All right, come on, ducks, let's go. It's coming down to the bills.
I am? Oh, wow. That is,
You're not announcing it. You're just pulling it.
you got
Yeah,
it.
you got to give it
All right.
to me.
Grab it the second it goes through.
Oh God, who's it gonna be?
And you're blocking.
Okay, give me that one. Good. What's the number? Give me the number. Give it to me.
It's not through yet.
Write it down.
It looks like it's going to be this right here. Number 2.
And number 3.
First and second.
Allie? Sally Slacker. But this one. Sally
This is
needs
number
winning
2.
ducks, she said. Okay. So would you give them to me, please? Here's a stray one.
I got the numbers in my head.
Austin, do you want to get them and bring them in?
She needs
Which
to have
is
the-
which?
Could you bring the winning ducks over here
Would you
to
give them
Sally?
to me?
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna hold on to them real quick. There's one right next to you.
You're the slacker.
Oh, you hold them up, Nicole?
That one's
No, I want to know which is which.
That's the last one.
Those damage control.
You know which is which?
354 is number 2. 6078 is number 1.
We would say the number because we don't have anything online that says what that number associates to a person.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
number is on that.
Exactly. So when he goes live, he could say like, oh, to find out who's
Yeah, it's going to be a tease because the
What's the,
service isn't the
what's the
greatest.
slacker's
Yeah.
So you're
number?
better off getting a really high quality video. And this will go up immediately. So,
Glad we didn't miss it.
excellent, excellent, excellent.
Gina, do you have the slacker quacker?
Oh, 790.
790.
But it doesn't matter because that's not going to be the number. You know how they get changed.
Let me see, Blair. Your official duties here.
Well, that was a much faster race than the battery
That
held
was a
out.
race, wasn't it? Versus the warm-up.
Needed that on your side.
Yes. Nice job, Gina, rerouting.
Gina, where do you want me to put the winners here?
I love well-behaved ducks.
This is the winner. Do you want them in the car?
If you reported them, no. Oh, because of the race.
Maybe put them in my car.
Okay, and I'm going to put a big note with them.